Who is this man? Music from Nana McLean. You heard a few tracks on the rhythm. You heard Stevie Face, Teach the Children from the album Coming at You. Then you heard from Stevie Face alongside Junior Kelly. Then you heard from Tristan Palmer from the album Reggae 2000. And this one is Nana McLean from the album Reggae for Jesus. And one thing that these tracks all have in common, they were put together by my guest in the studio, goes by the name of Ijandi, aka Eric Jones. So we're going to bring him in a little bit. But next up, just to let you know who this artist is, I'm going to play something from Ijandi. And this one is called How Wrong. And this is a full circle moment, first played here at 90.1 FM in 1990. How long?
Oh, run, 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 so wrong. Oh, run for a man to abandon his children. All over the world, children are suffering, crying for hunger, crying for love. I'll take some time to examine the cause. I pray to Jah to help us find a solution. For so long we have been in this situation, living a life, struggle and confusion. Let's put our thoughts together and set up a plan. Fathers, return to your children, give them a helping hand. Oh, run, 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 so wrong. Oh, run, 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 so wrong.
Music from Ijandi. What I said before, this is a real full circle moment. I first met Ijandi through the RMR Reggae chat group while I was a student here on campus. At that time, Ijandi was an aspiring artist, and I invited him to the radio station when I hosted NST. A lot has transpired since then. He went on to create one of the first online mail subscription storefronts that was dedicated exclusively to reggae music. He then went on to executive produce some great albums. A few of them are Richie Season's Covers for Lovers, Stevie Face's debut album Coming at You, Reggae for Jesus, the rhythm-driven Millennium Taxi, and a whole host of music. And then there was the Reggae Rags clothing line, featuring the exclusive Garnet Silk clothing collection. So now, I'm going to welcome him to the studio. He is an author now. So Ijandi, aka Eric Jones, welcome to the studios of WUSB.
Yes, Jesse, thank you. After almost 30 years,
Oh,
I'm
gosh,
back.
don't date it.
It's a pleasure to be on the Rockin' Iration once again. I'm here to vibe with the eye and talk about the journey that brought me to where I am today, you know.
You know, when we first met, we weren't even in this building as a studio, so that goes to show you how long ago it was.
Yes, absolutely, man. That was when I was working on an album. I was a budding artist at the time, bitten by the reggae bug from I was a kid. But unfortunately, I took a little turn, but actually stayed in the business on a different level. And that's where you're talking about reggaecd.com. That was the first online reggae music store. I kind of changed from being an artist to being somebody in the business to try and spread reggae around the world. And, in reggae-cd.com's heyday, we were reaching over 80 countries, customers in over 80 countries. And at the end of the day, we had a subscriber list of almost 30,000 customers.
And you also went on to have the Reggae Rags clothing line.
Absolutely. That was very exciting. That was we were launched in 2003, and we were met with a lot of support and a lot of love. Artists were wearing the garments. It was a fun time.
I'm wearing my Garnet Silk exclusive garment right now. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. If everyone could see me online, I'm wearing the Garnet Silk collection exclusive to your production. So you've done a lot of things, and right now you're an author of a book called Life Lessons, My Jamaican-American Journey. So
yeah, Life Lessons from Two Worlds, My Jamaican-American Journey. So all the time I was trying to be an artist, plus running that company, Janice Reggae Comprehensive, which included reggaecd.com, the record label, reggaeking.com, Reggae Rags. I had a separate profession all that time. So, on top of my 40-hour work week in my professional career, I was dedicating 50 to 70 hours to the business of reggae,
Yeah, that's really a labor of love.
So in 2025, I retired, and this book had always been in my mind. It's been, from I was a kid in primary school in Jamaica, I was inspired to write, loved writing. I remember one summer having like 20 an assignment to write 20 compositions over the course of the summer holidays. In second form in high school, an English teacher gave me immense praise on a descriptive writing assignment, and the bug was planted, So in 1997, I had the idea for this book, and time did not allow with my career. And so when I retired in 2025, I dust off those notes that I had jotted down in 1997, and the result is this book.
So what made you write the book now?
Well, again, as I said, time was an essence, but it's also
hold on there, Eric. Time. I've personally witnessed that you've done and juggled so many things at the same time. So that's not an excuse. What made you do it now?
Well, I think it was a time for reflection and healing. My journey I came from humble beginnings in Jamaica, and migrated here in 1987. And my path has not been straight. It has been rocky at times. I have gone through some trials and tribulations, and I think when I retired, I felt the need for just some reflection and healing. But beyond just my personal story, as I started to write, I realized that I'm actually voicing for a lot of people. It's capturing the voice of people who have potentially lived some of these experiences, have gone through hard times, have gone through difficulties, but rise above it all and still rise to achieve great things. And so, it's beyond that as well, beyond the inspiration, beyond the lessons I've learned that I've shared in this book. It's replete with Jamaican culture, I borrow from around 30 Jamaican proverbs, traditional proverbs that provided grounding and uplift in my times of trials, and I share all of those, all the dialogues that I had with my mother, and interesting dialogues as a youth growing up. I have them in Patois, of course with translations for those who don't understand Patois, but it's really a celebration of Jamaican culture beyond my story. So it's a little for everybody in there.
Yes, I did read the book, Mr. Jones, and the book takes us through your family background, the social and political climate of Jamaica, your education, your journey to the US, personal relationships, working in corporate America, the reggae music journey, picking up the pieces during tough times, as you said. And in each chapter, there are many lessons for the reader. You know, I mean, it's more of a teachable moment. I mean, what would you like the reader to really gather from your book?
So, at the end, as you said, at the end of every chapter, what I thought best is, you know, you read a book and sometimes you walk away, and you know, some of it may stay in your memory, but if you wanted to go back to catch the essence of what you have read, you may have to read again. And so for the reader, what I provide are these life lessons distilled from my own journey, and I put them at the end of every chapter. So if you don't have the time to read the whole chapter, you can go to those life lessons and reflect back and say, you know, and some of them are pretty catchy, so you may hang on to it and say, you know, this one resonates with me. So that's kind of the idea, so that you know, you have something to walk away with and something that you can quickly reflect on when you remember something and say, you know what, I read that lesson in Eric's book and it resonated with me. Let me look back at it, what it said, you know, and you can even quote them, you know.
What made you want to share your journey with the world? Because you're really doing that. You know, I knew you and I never knew you based on reading this book. There's so much information in the book.
You know, as I said, it started out as a project of reflection and healing, you know, and as you go through it and you see the difficulties and challenges I faced, it's coming to grips with that, and, you know, getting to the point where you're happy and proud of your past, every little detail of it, because without it you wouldn't be who you are today. And a lot of people shy away from some of their past and some of the difficulties, and this is basically giving voice to those who are afraid to do it, you know. Not everybody perhaps has the writing bug, and you know, I'm hopeful that through my story a lot of people kind of find their own and can reflect, and I've been getting that, a lot of that from readers. A lot of them are like, oh man, I had a similar upbringing, you know, I grew up, you know, humble, and I remember some of these circumstances, I went through this, and it gives me great pleasure when I hear that, because that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that, you know, I can relate to reading the book. And one of the things that you do, you reflect on the social political climate of Jamaica throughout. And yesterday we celebrated 64 years of independence. How has Jamaica changed, in your opinion, since you started your journey?
So, you know, I think chapter 2 of my book, I talk about the socio-political, economic and cultural setting of my birth and youth, and how that kind of influence from the US, you know, the civil rights era, on the whole movement in the early 70s of equality and upliftment of the poor. So that was that era. And now if we talk about now, in the book I also touch a little on that, which, you know, obviously one of the most striking thing that we went through recently was Melissa from last year, and that devastating impact. You know, and I reflect on how we have been lucky that a lot of hurricanes have just brushed us but not hit us since Gilbert, and this was the real big one since Gilbert. But in terms of development, Jamaica is now, you know, I watch a lot of videos on what's happening in Jamaica, and I've been there fairly recently as well, and see the level of development. I'm very proud of what I'm seeing. You know, we have nice highways running across the country. We have development just seem to be burgeoning, and it's a good sign. It's a really good sign.
Where do you predict Jamaica will be 20 years from now?
Well, there's a lot of talk about Jamaica being the next Singapore. And look, we are little but we Talawa, right? And we are very ambitious people, and I think it's reflected in our work environment, in the diaspora, wherever we work, wherever we plant our feet, we sprout and we shine, and we believe that anything is possible, and we can achieve anything. And so if Jamaica wanna be the next Singapore or better, I don't see why we can't. I mean, it take the commitment, it take belief, it take, you know, the country, you know, and we've seen a drastic reduction in crime, which is an excellent vehicle for inspiring investors to come into the country. If you have low crime, you know, people don't feel that there's instability, you know. So yeah, 20 years from now, sky's the limit.
Okay, you also touch on the U.S. because your Jamaican-American journey.
Mm-hmm.
Same question, where do you predict the U.S. will be 20 years from now?
The U.S. over its long 250 years has had 27 amendments to the Constitution. It has had the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act of 64 and 65, Fair Housing Act. You know, so the U.S. overall, over these two and a half centuries, has made tremendous progress towards a just society. And again, you know, it's a democracy, so things change one direction or the other. But the pendulum swings back and forth. But I think overall, you know, the U.S. will stand strong. You know, we tend to move in either direction of, you know, pendulum swing one way, it swings back. But overall, I am hopeful and believe that there is a good future for the U.S., just as I believe and hope for Jamaica.
Okay, you mentioned that quite a lot in the book, that you're thankful for the opportunities that you've been provided working in the United States. Do you think that the U.S. can still provide the dream that it once offered?
Well, it seemed like the door for immigrant opportunities is somewhat closing. But I believe this country was built on immigration. Immigrants made this country, and I don't think it will ever be fully shut. And again, as I said, you know, the pendulum swings back and forth, and ideology, you know, the independence of this country tend to keep the country along a straight path. You know, it swings back and forth, but overall, I think it's always on an upward trajectory.
Okay, very, very positive. You know, there's so much happening in the world. I mean, I don't even know where to start or what to think, because there have been so many unprecedented things happening right now. I don't really want to get too political, but you know what? You have to read the book. And where can people pick up this book?
So this is available on pretty much all online platforms. Of course, I recommend Amazon.com, but it's on Barnes & Noble and any other platform that you buy books online. And it's available in ebook, hardcover, and paperback. And I'd add that in April, when the book was published, it reached the #1 new release in U.S. immigrant history category on Amazon, and something that I was surprised but grateful,
nice,
very
nice.
happy that happened. So I think, you know, folks who have not yet read it should really try and pick up a copy. It's not just my story, it really goes way beyond that. There's a lot of in-depth research. And again, as I said earlier, there's a lot of cultural celebration in there. You know, you can feel the Jamaican culture as you read this book from cover to cover. And coming soon will be the audiobook.
Okay, nice. You know, you were also, we'll just change it a little bit. You were also big in the music, right? And we want to see you build back reggaecd.com, something of that. Is there any hope of you getting back into the music now that you're retired and you have the ability to juggle so many different
So
tasks?
it definitely would not be reggaecd.com, because as we know, the CD format kind of died.
Yes.
And the change in technology when iTunes came online around 2003, that was partially what caused the demise of ReggaeCD.com and most of the other online CD vendors, because the instant gratification of downloading music became the norm, and a lot of people walked away from the CD format, and now they're not even buying downloads anymore. It's just you pay a month, you just pay a monthly subscription and you stream. So to answer you, I don't rule anything out. This is a phase where I'm in the process of promoting this book, and so I'm kind of focused on that. I know that my authorial career will continue after this because I have another book lined up to write. But definitely music is in my blood, and it is not impossible that I make another foray into the business at some point.
All right, we're looking forward to that. So for anyone who'd like to connect with you, how can they get in contact with you?
You can go to my website, ericgwjones.com, and there you'll find links to all my social media. You'll find a contact form, you'll find my email address, and again, that's Eric, ERICGWJones.com.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any more words you'd like to tell us without giving us too much about the book?
I just want to say, just like you said, happy independence to everybody out there, every Jamaican. Last night I stayed up late watching the Grand Gala. It's such an awesome feeling that we're all over the diaspora. We have this ability to watch a live YouTube stream of an event like that, celebrating our 64th anniversary of independence.
And tomorrow we'll have the first parade in the United States.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So yeah, just telling everyone, to enjoy the Independence weekend and more strength. And I'll also announce if anybody is gonna happen to be in Florida on the 15th, which is next Saturday, I will have a book signing event at the Island Space Caribbean Museum in Plantation in Florida. So, if anybody hearing this right now intend to be in Florida for the next weekend, do come out. It's a free event. And again, that's at the Island Space Museum in Plantation, Florida.
And what's the address for that? Because we're on the internet, so we're worldwide. It's not just Long Island.
Yeah, it's 800 West Broward Boulevard. It's at the Broward Mall, actually. The Island Space Caribbean Museum is a space within that Broward Mall.
Okay. So you can make your way there if you're in the Florida area, South Florida. All right, thank you, Eric. Well, it's such a pleasure to vibe with you after all these years. Okay, so next up, I'm going to feature Shaggy, Red Fox, and GC, Love Me Jamaica, still celebrating Jamaica 64.
Shaggy, go on, Shaggy.